Hello everyone. Okay, today I'm talking about some aspects of Vedic relationship astrology. And as I said in a previous video, this is a very vast subject and it will take a lot of videos to cover everything. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make several videos because a lot of this information is on my website. I'm going to make maybe 2 or 3 more videos about relationship astrology, which will give out kind of a foundation of what it's based on. And this is also great for Western astrologers who want to learn a little bit about the Vedic system. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do for, I don't know, the next week or so. I'm also going to talk about a lot of other things that I've been experiencing in the past couple of months, and this has to do with my particular spiritual path and what I've been going through. I'm going to talk a lot about Rahu, because I just know a lot about the nodes now that I just went through K2 maturation, and then I'm in Rahu Mahadasha. That's a 3-year. When you're in Rahu, that lasts about 3 years, and it's incredibly intense. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. And so today we're just going to talk about relationships, which is one of the most important things that that I have studied, and it's really enlightened me a lot in this realm. So yeah, I just want to share my knowledge with you all. So. Okay, so here we go. Now, before I get into relationship compatibility, I really want to talk about the capacity of someone to have a relationship, or to, I shouldn't say to have a relationship, but to have valuable, meaningful relationships that forwards their path in life. And a lot of people don't have this capacity. They look for relationships, but a lot of times they cannot, the relationship is too much stress for them, and they actually feel worse when they're in a relationship than when they are alone. And they just don't really get anything out of that give and take that is a part of relationships. And some people are, they don't have the capacity, but their lifetime is centered around relationships, meaning the path they walk is very much relationship centered, but they don't have the capacity to have good relationships, and they just keep having these very negative experiences over and over again. And that's why astrology is so powerful. Just a little bit of astrology, and not just in regard to relationships, but anything really. When you start to understand yourself astrologically, can help tremendously in giving you comfort in your own life if you don't have that, or kind of being able to see what your mistakes were and how you can avoid those mistakes as time goes on. So yeah. Okay, just wanted to say that a little bit and interject that in there. And yeah, okay, so let's get started. Now, much of relationship capacity and skills aren't only based on relationship houses or planets like the 7th Lord or Venus or the 7th house. It really is based on who a person is, and not really so much how they interact with other people, but who they are, and how much mental disease they carry. And when I say mental disease, there's obviously varying factors of that. There are degrees of that. And it really is the amount of fear they have, and their amount of feeling worthy or worthless. And these really play a lot in someone's life, not just in how they relate to other people, but how successful they are, how happy they are in their lives, and how successful they are in their endeavors, whatever that may be. That may be an introverted endeavor, you know, like a spiritual path or something like that, or out in the world, being able to spread their knowledge or their care, or, you know, making a lot of money, whatever it is the person is trying to accomplish in their life, whatever they feel inspired by, whatever they, and just their general everyday life, if they have these feelings of fear and worthlessness, it's going to be an ineffectual, hard road. Okay? So that alone is going to show how someone is going to relate to other human beings. And if there is too much fear, then the person usually is either very angry or depressed or resentful or any of those things. So I'm going to talk about that because it's different for men and women. You see these things differently in a man's chart than you do in a woman's chart. There's a difference. And you know, all men and women, all men have a feminine side and all women have a masculine side. And I know that. That's incredibly important. But in a relationship, it's the masculine side of the man and the feminine side of the woman that has to feel good. And I'm going to talk about that in some subsequent videos. But today I'm just going to touch on some things that that you can look for in a chart that's going to show you some fear, and it's going to show you if someone has some hard or difficult relationship karma. Okay? And these are really simple, and I'll explain them as I go along. Okay? So, all right, so the first one obviously is Venus. And Venus is the planet of worth. It's a planet of value. It is a planet where we see the value in things. If Venus is harmed in a chart, the person does not see value in what is valuable, or what most people, most healthy people would consider valuable. They don't see the worth in it. They don't see the value in it. And they make decisions based on what they do see value in or what they don't see value in. Venus is the planet of choice. And we make choices. Okay, I'll explain it this way. Venus rules Taurus and Venus rules Libra. Libra is the sign of the scales, and it's called the Mula Tricona, meaning that's the sign where it gets its power. It's it is the most powerful signs of Venus. That's where Venus derives its power. Venus is exalted in Pisces, but Venus derives power from Libra. And Libra is the scales. Libra is weighing what is worthwhile and what isn't. And you take what's worthwhile and discard the rest. Now, Taurus rules the throat and the neck area of the body, and we use our neck to turn from side to side to see our choices. So Venus is also a planet of choice. We make choices based on what we see as valuable and what we don't see as valuable. And so when Venus is harmed, the person cannot see value in certain things, or they make poor decisions based on their faulty understanding of what is valuable. So when Venus is harmed, and Venus is harmed when he's with Saturn. Venus-Saturn conjunctions, not aspects, okay? The conjunction. Saturn will starve a planet. That's what Parashara says Saturn does. Parashara says Saturn starves a planet. He will starve who he's with. And Saturn will starve Venus. And the person will always feel a hole when it comes to Venus, when Venus is with Saturn. Saturn dries out things, whereas Venus satiates. It's the water element, but Saturn dries him out. So he can't operate and function properly. when he's with Saturn, or there's a lot of negative karmas attached to love relationships. That's what Saturn is. Saturn is the hard, difficult karma that we have to go through. And when Saturn is with Venus, he causes problems in relationships. And that's just the way it is. Also, Saturn is fear. And Saturn is fear of the unknown, or sorry, fear of the known. Saturn wants security. So when Saturn is with a planet, we approach the indications of that planet with fear. We come from a fear-based emotional state wherever Saturn is. So we're going to approach relationships with fear already if Saturn is with Venus. Okay? Now, a lot of people, have Venus-Saturn conjunctions, and this is not Saturn aspecting Venus, because when he aspects, it's different. He aspects, Saturn is actually a friend of Venus. He's a friend, so when he's aspecting, he can cause good things. He can make the person get in very long and committed relationships. But when he's with Venus, he does cause problems. And and we always we will approach those things that Venus rules, which is relationships, with fear. Okay? And then when Venus is with Saturn, he will make poor decisions based on relationships, in relationships, and based on relationships. And then you're going to see a lot of negative karma the person has to work through in relationships when Saturn is with Venus. Okay, so that's something to look for. Number 2 is Venus with the moon. Now you would think, oh, Venus with the moon, 2 benefics. They'll do great together. That's wonderful. No, it isn't. Not necessarily. I mean, maybe for other things that Venus has to do with, but in the Vedic system, the moon is the ego, okay? And all of the relationship, all of the compatibility between 2 people is based on the moon in the Vedic system, because we are individuals interacting with other individuals. It is not based on the sun sign at all, because the sun sign is the soul. That shows us where our soul is, more or less. And we don't interact with someone with our soul. We interact with ourselves with our soul. We have a relationship, 2 individuals, a meeting of the minds, if you will, and the moon is the mind. So that's why the whole relationship system in the Vedic system is based on the moon and the moon sign and the moon's nakshatra. So any planet, I said this in previous videos, but any planet that is with the moon is that much more emphasized, okay? And when Venus is with the moon, the person makes decisions based on their ego and their emotions. And when Venus is with the moon, the moon is me. It's all about me. It's all about the person. So it's kind of like they want the relationship to be all about them, rather than 2 people meeting and putting in what they have together to make a relationship work. The person who has Venus and the moon together tend to want to have the relationship revolve around them more than both of the people, okay? So that is kind of can cause some problems in relationship capacity. And then the person with a Venus moon, like I said, the decision making is kind of skewed, because the person always takes into account only their needs or their ego needs and their emotional state at the time, because Venus is the decision maker. So that's another one you're going to have to look out for. And if you have that, then you know that, so you can take steps to mitigate that. And you can do that, and I'll talk about that at the end of the video. Okay. And I'm not trying to sound overly negative, because I know a lot of people have these, and but you know, this needs to be addressed, because you know, I know a lot of astrologers will try to sugarcoat things and you know, and say, oh, but you can work through this. You really can't work through the karma in your chart unless you're not interacting with anybody. The only place that you have to work out the karma in your chart in the phenomenal world is where Rahu is, but that's another video. But so anyway, okay, so number 3, Rahu with Venus. Rahu with Venus, I talk about this in my infidelity and affairs video. Rahu and Venus can cause infidelity and affairs. Rahu is a planet that will throw you into situations where that you need to deal with. That it's according to myth, Rahu is the whole reason that we came onto this planet, and so Rahu's position is going to show where you have to face what you came here to face. Pretty much, it's the whole reason you came to this planet, and you have to deal with it. But being Rahu, there's not enough karma usually to sustain something. Parashara says Rahu is built on anthills, so there's no solid foundation, and it's a bunch of new karma. So you really don't know what you're doing, and when Rahu is with Venus, you can also become very hypnotically attracted to people, because not really for that person, but for some kind of quality that you want to incorporate into yourself. So you become hypnotically attracted to that person, and then you get to know them, and you know, start having an affair or whatever it is, and then you incorporate that quality, or think that you do, and then you realize you really don't have anything in common with this person. There's no reason that you are with this person other than this certain quality that you had to incorporate within yourself. That's what Rahu Venus does. Okay. All right, and similar to that is Rahu in the 7th house. If you have Rahu in the 7th house, that's going to cause some problems in relationships. It's very similar to Rahu and Venus together, but it's not as I want to say the person who has Rahu in the 7th house, it can definitely feel worth and value in things, and will make good decisions, can make good decisions. You have to look at other things in the chart. But Rahu with Venus is really going to force a person to develop their self-worth and understand what their worth is, their inherent value as a human being on this planet. And but Rahu in the 7th doesn't do that. Rahu in the 7th will cause some serious relationship problems. And Rahu is chaos, so you're trying to manage something that is very chaotic. Wherever Rahu is, you're not going to be in control. You're going to try to control it, but you're going to find out that's just not going to happen. So and it's very chaotic. And after age 42, age 42 is when Rahu matures. People who are over 42 years old can usually handle Rahu a lot better. When you're younger, you're still operating out of Ketu, and there's some exceptions to that, like when you have the ruler of Ketu with Rahu, or if you are a big Rahu person, like you have Rahu with the moon, or Rahu in the 1st house or something like that, you already have some experience you've had to deal with Rahu ever since you were born. But if you don't have those aspects, then Rahu can be very confusing and chaotic until after age 42. Then you can handle it better. So that's when Rahu matures. Okay, so now to a lesser extent, Venus conjoined the Sun, or combust. The Sun when planets are joined the sun, Parashara says they get angry, or they are, it's called kopi, they're frustrated. And that's because you can't see them. If you have Venus retrograde in the same house as the sun, then it is not combust, it's not angry. But many people, a huge part of the population, has Venus in the same sign with the sun, because Venus never gets 90 degrees away from the sun, or never gets farther than 90 degrees away from the sun. So a lot of people have Venus with the sun. And so Venus with the sun can make the planet frustrated. You get a little frustrated. It's not that big of a deal as the previous ones that I just mentioned, the previous relationship karmas and planetary positions. It's not nearly as harmful as those, but it can cause, you know, some frustration and anger in the relationships. Venus is also the water element. Venus rules over the water element, which is satiating, which comforts us. That's what water does. And so the person can have trouble feeling comforted and satiated in their relationship. And not to say that they can't feel that way, but sometimes they are going to feel that way. So just keep that in mind, okay? Okay, so I think that's about it for today. I'm going to talk about relationship capacity in some subsequent videos based on who a person is, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video. Yeah, so that's it for today. And thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye.